Cheryl Sleboda from So Much Cosplay. You know, when you cosplay, you want to cosplay all the way down to your shoes. And even if you don't cosplay that day, you can wear these pretty much any day of the week. So they're a pretty neat project to try. The first thing that you're going to want to do is to have a pair of shoes that have laces in them, because these little wings, or whatever you would like to call them, need to go into the actual laces. So you can't use these with like zip-up shoes or anything like that. You can only use them with lace-up shoes. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create a pattern for our wings, and for this one we're going to do this little dragon wing. And what we want to make sure is that the end of the wing that's going to be attached to the shoe, we just want to make sure that there's enough room in there to get the eyelets, and so that they're the same space on the actual shoe. So once you have your pattern, you're going to transfer that to your foam. And this foam is what's going to create all the structure inside of the actual wing. So all you need to do is to trace around this with your permanent marker and then cut them out of your foam. You will need to remember to actually flip this and do a reverse version for both sides of the shoe. If you're doing 2 sets of wings on each shoe, you're going to need to do this 4 times. So once you have it cut out, we are going to actually attach this to our fabric. There is fusible already on this foam, but if you don't have that on your foam, you would need to use a fusible layer in between. So we're going to attach that with our iron to the wrong side of our fabric, and we're going to create a little fabric sandwich with right sides together. So I've already done that, and I've got that cut out here. You can see I've pinned my pieces together so that they don't shift around when I go to sew them. The other thing that you're going to want to make sure that you leave is about an inch-long piece at the end, so that we have a spot where we're going to turn the wing inside out. So we're going to go over to the machine and we're going to sew this little guy together. So at your machine, you're going to want to make sure that you sew next to the foam, not on the foam. You're also going to trim all of this excess fabric away, so you don't have to worry about creating your seam allowance now. You are also going to sew about an inch away from the end that's going to be open and turned, and that's going to be so that we can have a little tab to close it all up with. So again, we're just following the direction of the foam, and we're going to sew around it. Now I want to end with my needle down in the needle down position, because I'm just going to pick up the presser foot and twist it. And I'm just going to pivot so that I can get my little wing ends. And we're just doing the, I guess this could be either a bat wing or a dragon wing, either one. So we're just going around. And we're, like I said, we're just going directly next to the foam. We're not going onto the foam. And then here at the end, here's where I'm going to pivot again, and I'm just going to go straight out about an inch, and that's going to give me the spot where I'm going to turn everything inside out. So now what I need to do is to just trim all of this fabric away, about 1/4 of an inch away. And if I had any interior deep curves, I would want to clip those, because once I turn everything inside out, you're going to have those places where the bulk will happen. So you might want to do a little snip if you have some deep curves. So once you have everything trimmed up, now's the time when you're going to turn it inside out. And I've already done that on this one here. So you can see here where I've pushed out all of the little corners on my bat wing. And here is the tab, the opening, that I have used to flip it all inside out. So what I'm going to do now is just tuck all of this inside so that I have a nice finished edge to my wing. And I'm just going to come over here to the machine and sew it closed. And you're just sewing very close to the actual opening, and that's just going to shut everything closed. And so you have your little threads you can trim. And now is the time that you're going to put on any sort of top stitching detail. So for our dragon wing here, we can add little ribs that give it more of a dragon wing look, and that is just easily done with some straight stitching right on top. And again, I'm just putting it right back under the machine. And once we get all of those little details on there, if you feel like you need to pre-mark these, you can. I just like to eyeball it. All right, and so now just trim up our threads, and we are ready to set our grommets. Now for these, you would want to use more of an eyelet size than you would want to use a grommet. If you use a grommet, those might be too big for this little tiny shoe wing. So the first thing we need to do is, again, we're gonna just double check it against our shoe, and we're going to mark where the holes need to be for the eyelets. And I use this punch to be able to go through all of the bulk and just give it a good squeeze. And then again, you can do this right over the stitching. And once you have those holes, and you can just make sure you pull any of your fabric away. And then you're just going to set your eyelet. So what I do is I just give it a good push through, and we give this a little squeeze with our tool. And there we go. So that's one eyelet. Now this does have sort of a right side and a wrong side to the eyelet. So you want to double check and determine which is the top of your shoe wing, the one that's going to be facing out from the actual shoe itself. So if you did this in reverse and put the wrong side up, it's not a big deal, but from a finishing standpoint, you may prefer to have the finish. So sometimes your eyelet doesn't go all the way through, so we'll just give that a little push through, and we are, all right. And once we get that put in there, we can just give that a squeeze, and now we have two eyelets. So now we are ready to put this onto our shoe. But once you have the shoe wing finished, you can decorate it with all sorts of vinyls or glitter, gems, whatever you want to do with trims, and you can have all different types of butterflies, dragons, fairies, or even little angel wings too. So I hope you give this one a try and create some shoe wings of your own.